During these last 3 weeks after Easter, the Word of God has suggested to us various incidents and experiences that the disciples have gone through after Christ has risen from the dead. We remember, we read about the disciples gathered together afraid of what would happen to them, and Jesus through the door went in and gave them peace and gave them also his Spirit to go out in the world and be witnesses of what he has been to them. And then we also, on another occasion, we had Thomas, the unbeliever, who wanted to touch, who wanted to see with his own eyes to believe. Today we have another experience. This is probably the most powerful experience of many that the disciples went through, because we have a long narrative of how Jesus was walking as a pilgrim with two of his disciples who were on the way. They went to Emmaus. Where is Emmaus? Where is Jerusalem? Jerusalem is the place of God. Jerusalem is the place where God has manifested himself through his Son Jesus Christ. But they ran away from it. They ran away from it because they were depressed, because they were disappointed, because they felt they were a failure, and everything has been lost when they went through the passion and crucifixion of Christ. They were so much depressed in their experience that on the road, when Jesus accompanied them, they didn't recognize him. And then Jesus, even showing a sense of humor by pretending that he didn't know what had happened in Jerusalem. What had happened in Jerusalem, he said. You was the only one, they said, who don't know what has happened to Jesus, the prophet. And they took also blame of what had happened on themselves too. Our fathers, our own priests, our own people have crucified that man. They took also the blame of the recent happenings of the crucifixions. And Jesus continued to explain to them that what had happened was already announced in the Old Testament, starting from Abraham, Moses, and all the prophets, and Isaiah, and all the rest. They knew that he tried to open their eyes. We are on a pilgrimage of faith. We have often explained this. We have not yet arrived on our destination. We too, very often, leave Jerusalem. What does it mean to leave Jerusalem? It means we abandon God. It means we are so much disappointed with life that we say we are fed up. We don't want to know about God. We are so much burdened with problems that we lose hope and abandon everything. And then start maybe a way of finding our Emmaus. What is Emmaus? Finding our own way to find a solution to our problems. And then maybe we go to drugs, maybe we go to booze, maybe we go to work and become workaholic and forget about God, forget about our relationships, forget our families, forget our own life sometimes, thinking that we might suppress our cross and kill it and start healing. This is not the way. If we abandon God, we are alone. I can't imagine me without God. Sometimes people say, yes, I can live. I am an adult now. I don't need the church. I don't need God. I don't need any support from anybody because I can live on my own. Good luck to you if you can make it. But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't make it on my own. We need, first of all, God. We need each other. We are not born to be alone. And even in our depression, even in our pain, even in carrying the crosses, a sign of Christ, carrying up the cross to Calvary, he needed Cyrene to help him with the cross. He needed someone to lift him up when he fell 3 times, going up to Calvary. We need each other. We need God first of all, and we need each other. So, going up, and then when they came to the crossroad, how many times we find ourselves in a crossroad? What to do with our life? Do we abandon God or not? Do we do this? Do we start a new career or not? We very often are undecided what to do about our own lives, about our own cross, about our passions. And that is the moment when we mostly need God. And Jesus was there present. Jesus is always present, even if we don't recognize him. We don't recognize him because we are suppressed in darkness, maybe with our own selfishness. But Jesus is present. God is present in our life all the time. And so, being courteous at Emmaus at the crossroads, these disciples invited Jesus for a meal because it was late at night. Jesus accepted. Even here, Jesus pretended that he wanted to go on his journey, and yet he gladly accepted to go in for a meal. He went in. When you invite someone for a dinner, you are the host. In this case, we see that the host was Jesus. He took the bread, he took the food, blessed it, and gave it to them. The moment he blessed the bread and gave it to them to eat, their eyes were open. Their eyes were open. And they recognized Jesus because with him they did this ceremony, this function so many times before. And so they recognized him there and then. He is the Lord. He is here with us. And so you see the similarity of the Eucharist we are celebrating together. This is the same bread that Christ has left to us so that it will open our eyes, so that we can recognize him in our pilgrimage of faith, so that we do not lose hope in any situation of life that we might find ourselves in, because Christ is with us. Christ is blessing the bread for us, and he is giving us to us as food to eat and to sustain us and to help us go ahead in life. This is the message that we receive. In fact, see what happened as soon as they recognized Christ. See what happened. First, they left Jerusalem, the place of God, because they were disappointed. As soon as they recognized Jesus in the breaking of the bread, they left everything, they left their meal, they returned immediately to Jerusalem, the place they had left, because now they were full of God, full of Jesus, full of the risen Christ, and they are changed people. They are new people. They went to meet the disciples once again and tell them, listen, yes, it's true, he is risen, and we are here now. New people, new people. This is what Jesus does to us. When we recognized Christ in our life, he doesn't solve all the problems that we have, but we know that in carrying our crosses, we have someone else with us. We are not alone. He is with us. This is the important thing of the resurrection. This is the recognition that we have of the love of God for us. We cannot live on this earth that we have come to live on. We cannot go through this pilgrimage of life without problems, without pain, without crosses. This is a fact of life. We all have to go through. But having God in your life, having Christ with you, carrying your cross, carrying your pain, and taking most of the pain on his shoulder, you know it's not the same. And you know it. And we know it. And I know it. And this is the message that we need to take with us today. That God with us, we can do everything. We have no fear because God gives us new courage and new hope in life.